Hello everybody, it's 9:07 p.m. the 3rd of August 2009. In about 23 minutes we're going to get the retail sales number coming out of Australia. It is expected at 0.5% and the previous release was at 1.0%. What we're going to be looking for is at least a 0.6% of deviation, which means if we get a 1.1% or a negative 0.1%, that would be the trigger for us to look at the market and possibly get into a trade. Now, basically what we always do is we wait for the number to come out. We wait for market to react to the number. Depending on where the market reacts, if it corresponds with the surprise that we get, meaning if we get a 1.1 or better release, we should see Australian dollar gaining against the US dollar. And if we get a negative 0.1%, we should see Australian dollar losing grounds against US dollar. So if those were the cases, then what we'll do is we will wait patiently for the market to retrace back to as close to the pre-release level, and then we'll enter the market and hopefully we'll be able to pick up 20-30 pips along the way. Now, pre-release market trading has been pretty much pro-Audi. The Australian dollar has been very bullish since the start of the week. We're now looking at 84.35, and just yesterday we were looking at the start of the week roughly around the 83.35 level. So we actually saw about 100 pips of gain since yesterday. And if we look at the past 4 days, we saw Australian dollar really gaining momentum from 81.25 to where we are right now at 84.34, and to be precise, it's 308 pips of gain so far. So basically, I have to say it's a pretty bullish sentiment for the Australian dollar, and if we get a pretty bullish release, that will be in our favor and also in the favor of Australian dollar for the momentum to carry over. Now, if we don't get a favorable release, what we could see is the market could be turning on Australian dollar. So we have to be careful with our entry. Now, one thing to watch out for is the RBA interest rate decision. That's going to be scheduled at 12:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is about 4 hours from now, roughly. So when that news comes out, we should see some volatility in the Australian dollar, and that could be a reason why we might not see much of a market reaction with this news release. But what we'll do is what we always do. We'll wait for the number to come out. We'll see if the market reacts to the number, and if the market does react to the number, then we'll wait for a retracement to get back in. Obviously, we want to have a corresponding release to the sentiment. As we can clearly see, Australian dollar has been on a bullish sentiment for the past 4 days. And given that the 85 cents level is a psychological resistance, if you call it, so that's where probably we'll be looking to take our profits. And a retail sales number could possibly move Australian dollar about 50 pips. So just before 8,500 will probably be an area for us to get out of the trade. And if the market gets pushed to the 8,500 and we're seeing resistance and unable to break that number, could definitely look for sell trade around that area, given the fact that we'll have the RBA interest rate decision in a few hours, that the market might not want to push beyond this area in the fear of a reversal. So with that in mind, what we'll do is we'll wait for the number, and we'll come back and look at this in about 17 minutes.
Q expected at 1.3% prior was 1%. Australia's Q2 home price index Q on Q expected at 2% prior was minus 2.2%. Australia's Q2 house price index year on year expected at minus 4.9% prior was minus 6.7% ahead of the data. The Australian dollar is trading right on its best levels across the board. We'll be prioritizing the retail sales figures.
Right, in less than a minute now, we're going to get the number. We're going to be looking at the Australian USD, AUD USD pair for our trading. We're looking at the 84.40 area bid for the Australian dollar. Obviously, the 84.50 and the 8500 are psychological resistance levels. We see a clean break of those levels, then we could see
and on the 30 seconds we'll be getting Australia's June retail sales figures and Australia's Q2 home price index.
So stand by, 30 seconds, 20 seconds probably now. Anytime now.
Retail sales month to month minus 1.4% worse than expected.
Minus 1.4, that is bad. That is bad. That's
Q on Q, retail sales ex inflation 2% better than expected, so a mixed bag for retail sales. Australia's Q2 housing price index Q on Q 4.2% better than expected. Housing price index year on year minus 1.4% also better than expected.
okay, so the retail sales is negative 1.4 versus the 0.5, and the X inflation is actually 1.3, 2.0 versus the 1.3, so it's actually better than expected.
Initially little change just off of its best levels against both the US dollar and the yen, still higher across the board.
Yeah, so basically we have a complete conflict here. We have the headline number being worse than expected, but the X inflation number being better than expected. So I think I'll have to call this one a no trade for the time being, with the possibility of weakening of the Australian dollar. You know what? I'm gonna give it a couple of minutes. Maybe we'll jump in on a sell trade because the headline number is really bad. And looking at the level that we're in, we're really at the top of the range. And being at the top of the range that the Australian dollar has been traded, and also with the interest rate decision coming out in just a little bit, the market could be looking at some uncertainty. And if we know anything about uncertainty, we know that it's really not good for currency. So I might call a reversal trade here, but I want to give it a little bit more time and see how the market reacts. So what we'll do is we'll stand on the sideline for now. And if we were going to take this trade, it would be a suggestion trade. It wouldn't be an official trade for the trade room people. So just keep that in mind. So in the meantime, we'll stand by and I'll come back to see if we can issue the suggestion based on this number. Alright, buddy, 7 minutes after the release, Australian dollar has reached a new high, 84.66. We see about 25 pips of jump from the pre-release level. We have a conflict number. I'm going to go ahead and take a sell trade right here at 64. The reason for this sell trade is pretty simple. We are basically having a conflict of the number. Market moved up about 32 pips after the release, and we're not making new highs here. However, we do have a interest rate decision coming up, and with the interest rate decision coming up, could see some uncertainty in the market. Plus, with the conflict, there's really no predictable, no momentum to push this trade up higher. So what I decided to do is I decided to sell from the top instead of to buy on a retracement. So what we'll do is we'll wait for the market to retrace, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up some pips from this trade. We're already up at this moment after we took the initial sell for about 2 pips right now, and that covers the spread and everything else. So what I'll do is I'll hopefully we'll pick up 15-20 pips and then call it a day. So that's the plan right now, and if the market retraces back, let's say to the 84.40 area, that's just around the pre-release level, then that would be a good area for me to exit. Everybody, it's 11:50 p.m. Got the news since 9:30. We took a reversal at the top of the range on the Aussie dollar. The entry was 84.64. Market is giving us about 15 pips of profit. It is at 84.49 right now. Because in about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, we're gonna get the RBA interest rate decision. I'm gonna go ahead and close this trade. I definitely think if I leave this trade on, we can see maybe another 50 pips of profit, but we always have to manage our risk. So 15 pips from this trade is really not bad, considering we made 20-30 pips earlier today, and plus this one is 35 pips. And basically I got in on this trade, went back, watched some TV. Not much to worry about. Look at this, we're up 20 pips now. I'm gonna go ahead and close it. Alright, the end, 19 pips. Not a bad trade, basically. And let me just go over some information while we took this trade. First of all, the news came out much worse than expected. However, the inflation adjusted component for the retail sales was better than expected. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the news release. Now the retail sales month on month is negative 1.4, and the expectation was a 0.5%. So what we got is almost a negative 2% of deviation. Because remember, we're expecting a positive 0.5 and we got a negative 1.4, so it's really bad. However, the ex-inflation number was 2.0 versus the expectation was 1.3. So with the inflation adjusted retail sales quarter on quarter, we're actually having a higher number, okay, for the entire quarter, which it came out to be at 2.0. So in essence, the quarter on quarter is actually better, and the current June retail sales, the last month of the quarter, was worse, but still it came out to be okay, and basically the market reacted with a conflict and with uncertainty. So my first impression after the news is that the market will probably start dropping because the number is really bad for the month of June. But instead we saw a whipsaw, we saw an initial drop, but once the market got a hold of the quarter on quarter number, and it's actually 2.0 versus 1.3, market turn around and start acting with renewed sense of risk appetite. And because of that, we saw the Aussie dollar jumped up, as we can see. Let's go to the 5 minutes so we can see exactly. This is actually the 84.38 was the area when the news was released. Immediately it dropped about 17 pips, and then it turned around and it jumped to about 30 pips. But because of the uncertainty and because of RBA rate statement scheduled at 12:30, I really didn't think we're gonna see much momentum pushing this. And plus, the number was indeed pretty bad. So I waited for the market to reach the top, and when it hit the top, I got in on a sell above the 84.60, got in at 84.64, and we just got out at 84.44, about 20 pips of gain. The whole trade took roughly about 2 hours, but it wasn't because I was sitting next to my computer watching it for 2 hours. I was actually watching some TV and just having the trade on. basically don't let this thing stop whatever you're doing. If you have a plan getting to the trade, follow your plan, and that's all you need to care about. You don't need to sit there, and sitting there looking at a trade is not going to change anything. So basically that's what happened, and got out with 20 pips on this one and 27 pips earlier with the UK manufacturing PMI, and we still have a couple of trades pending on the euro yen sales early on, but we'll get to that later on. Anyways, this is Henry, and this is the end of the Audi retail sales. Thank you.